Thank you so much. Good evening to you all, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. It's a pleasure to be here. I have 30 minutes of your time, so I'm super respectful of that. And I really want to give you as much value as I possibly can, whilst we bring it all into the topic of you are the brand and how your story is ultimately what sets you apart. So, super excited to be here. Thank you for the introduction. Let me hit record, and I've got some slides and some tasks, shall we say, that I'd love for you to do. I always love a little bit of participation. So thank you very much for those that have got their cameras on. It makes it so much more enjoyable when I'm on an online call to see your faces, to see what you're smiling at, to see what you're laughing at, and if you're doing the tasks that I'd love you to do. So this is as interactive as you want to make it, but let's get started with, you are the brand and how we're going to take it to the next level tonight. So, I've got a little question for you. Who here has a personal brand already? If you could find the chat box, I'm going to just come in and see who's engaging and who has a personal brand. Put yes, no, maybe, not sure. Let me know. Okay, we've got a good let me just click in. There we are. All right. So we've got here. Yes, for me. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Me. Yes. Oh, I love it. No, I don't. Yes, I do. I think the start of the one. When I do this in person, I ask the question and I get three results usually. I get the hands up going, yes, I've got a personal brand. So there's quite a few of you that have said that there. And then I get people that do this kind of half dance where they're like, oh, well, maybe I do, maybe I don't. Yes, kind of. And then I get people that are like, I have no idea, or no, I'm not sure. And they kind of sit there like this. And the reality is, why I asked that question is because everyone here today has a personal brand. What we might not be doing is thinking about intentionally how our personal brand impacts our business, or ultimately how it impacts the way we show up and why your story and what you do is so important. So, for those that maybe said no, just to clarify, what is a personal brand? Ultimately, it's how do people feel when they come into contact with something that you say or do. So that could actually be for the first time someone finding you on LinkedIn. So that first engagement that people have could be the amalgamation of just your online, sorry, I wanted to go back to that, your online or offline
Mm.
persona. Because a lot of people think, oh, it's maybe just if I've got a LinkedIn page or if I have sort of some sort of digital assets. It's not that at all. How do people feel when they come into contact with something that you say or do? Jeff Bezos uses the quote of, it's about what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I think that's also a really good way to go, okay, how and where is my personal brand relevant in what it is that I do? And the point is, it's super relevant. Um, I wanted to do a little introduction to say, hiya, nice to meet you all. I don't know for those that maybe can guess where I'm from, you can put it into the chat box. I'll tell you what I'll do. If anyone gets it right in the chat box, then I will give away a copy of my digital book. So type that in. I start with this informal greeting of hiya, because just last year, at my wedding, my dad did the Father of the Bride speech. And I have to say, I was super nervous. It was in a beautiful location in Scotland. And there was 100 of my family and friends. And he stood up there and he said, well, as many of you know, Kelly shares a lot of her life on social media, which is true in my world of personal branding. I do. He said, so I'm not going to talk about the Kelly that she is now. I want to take you back to the Kelly when she was wee. And he said Kelly's first words were not mommy, daddy, mama, papa. Kelly's first words were hiya. And what she would do is every day she could, she would go out to the end of the garden path and she would swing on the fence and she would shout hiya to every single neighbor that went past and invited them in. And when my dad's telling this, it made me smile because I thought, wow, even from this high, I've been wanting to make people feel welcome. Okay, admittedly, into my back garden, which was very small. But tonight, what I want to do is to invite you into the world of personal branding. I want to invite you into looking at how your personal brand actually impacts the business and what it is that you do. So I moved to the Middle East when I was 21, which was just a few years ago, shall we say. I launched my first business at 24, And that business that I launched was really what got me into personal branding, which was personal styling. So, personal presentation. How do you present yourself? How do you show up? And I got to work with some wonderful clients, but there was so much more I knew I could support them with. And I ended up selling that business. I became a TEDx speaker, just published my new book, which let me see, did anyone, ooh, what did we get? So we had Scotland, Aberdeen, Glasgow, Dumbarton. Someone's got it. Francesca. Well done. Edinburgh. So that's where I came from, and I've been in the Middle East now for 23 years. Sorry, Nancy, Francesca just beat you to it there. So, why do I do what it is that I do? These are some of the brands that I've worked with here in the Middle East, in the Maldives, in London, all over the world. And the impact of why I get up every day is because I want to inspire other people. One of my goals is to inspire a minimum of 5 people a day to take action. So this is my goal. I'm not sure how many we've got online at the moment. I'll need to have another little look. But my goal is that you go off and are not just inspired by something that you've heard, but you go and implement what you've heard. So that's my personal ask, and I will check in at the end to see who's going to action and what are you going to action. So your personal brand is a trust accelerator, whether you have a business brand or a personal brand or both. Ultimately, the business is pushed through the trust that they build through your personal brand. How I often like to describe it to people is your personal brand. So, me, Kelly Lundberg, is the marketing element of my business, Brand New Creators. The majority of people find out about workshops that I do, working with me through my personal account. So whether that's through LinkedIn, whether that's because they've heard me speak on the radio, whether that's I've done an article. And I think that's the really important piece when you're looking at visibility, that it's you that people want to connect with and not always your business. In fact, it's very rarely your business. It's you, the person behind the scenes. So this is what I want to bring in, how your story can accelerate that trust for you, because ultimately people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. Old but great quote when it comes to personal branding. So I believe, who are you choosing to be with your personal brand? And there's a real big thing about how do we show up authentically? What is our personal brand? How do we define our personal brand? Where do we use our personal brand? So I want to answer some of those questions today as well. Over the last sort of 20 years of building my business, there was a couple of aha moments where I realized, okay, personal brand is one thing and business is another. And we're talking years and years and years ago. And I just want to set the scene as to how, before I get into the brand new formula, the aha moment came for me when I realized my business was separate to my personal brand, was I got invited to speak with a luxury brand, which for those that are in the UK will be really familiar with, Harvey Nichols. They wanted me to do fashion styling event, and the marketing department at the time said to me, "Can you send me your biography? Can you send me your logo? And can you send me your pictures?" Tick, tick, tick. I sent all of that to them. And the marketing department called me back and said, "I'm afraid we can't use any of that." I was like, "Wait, what's wrong? Is it not luxury enough?" I was really kind of unnerved by, why they couldn't use it. And they simply said, as a business, we can't be seen to be promoting another business. We can only promote a person. And that's for me when the penny dropped. Okay, my personal brand's going to run alongside my business. Not everything fits under my business, but what happens one day when I want to sell my business, I still have my personal brand. So over that kind of 20 years from that aha moment of understanding, wow, brands also want to work with individuals. The media want to work with individuals. They want to tell your story. I came up with these 7 steps, these 7 pillars, I guess you could call them. The Ranji formula comes under strategy, style, stationery, social media, spotlight, speaking, and standout. So you could take a picture of that. These are some of the things that you need to be thinking about when you intentionally want to work on your personal brand. Some of these you might be doing subconsciously, and I don't have time today to go through all of them. And I'm going to be going into details of one of them on how speaking about your story is going to impact what it is that you do. Why de-seed the lemon? Well, I'll tell you the story there. I published my book just last year, and my Scottish granny used to have every single morning hot water with lemon, and she would cut the pips out of it. So this was when I was really wee, she would do this. And I said to her, Granny, why do you cut the pips out? I don't understand. And she was like, Kelly, no one likes pips in their hot water with lemon. And it was quite interesting until I drank hot water with lemon that I got what she meant. It's something so small and so insignificant that just annoys you. And when I started my business, it was a little analogy that I carried with me that I had my granny in my head going, it's the small things, Kelly, just like taking the seed out, the small things that have the big impact.
Oh my goodness.
And that for me is the big reason why now for me, it's the small things with your personal brand that's going to have the biggest impact. The small things, the consistency. So whenever you think of a lemon the next time, you can think of your personal brand and what are the small things that I'm going to do consistently in order for you to stand out even more. So, strategy is the first piece in being intentional about our personal brand. And we're going to dive into this in a little bit more detail. A couple of things that we're going to be thinking about. Personal brand audit. When was the last time that you actually looked at what's out there now about you and what do you want to be known about you? Because here's the thing. Your personal brand, when I talk about intentional branding, is often the shoes you want to step into. Maybe we're wanting to be more of a speaker. Maybe we're wanting to launch that business and we haven't launched it yet. Maybe we're wanting to transition in our career. And often we need to put the steps for our personal brand into place before we have that opportunity. So we're going to look at the audit, get clarity on your message. Your elevator pitch is so crucial when it comes to being memorable. It's your personal brand that's going to stand out and become memorable tonight when you all network after this presentation. So I'll be really curious when Angela tells me who had the memorable elevator pitches and who were the ones that really stood out. Your values is where I want you to spend a little bit of time tonight thinking about what are your values and how do they contribute to your storytelling and how you actually show up because it impacts your biography, it impacts your social media, it impacts every aspect of how you make people feel. Also, what are some of the goals? So I would love at the end of this that you have a couple of goals that you're going, do you know what? Need to relook at that and need to refresh that. I want to work on this. So these are just some of the things when you think about intentional branding. You are who Google says you are. So for those that are in a safe place, because I see some of you are driving, I would love for you to pull out your phone or while you're on the laptop, I would love for you to Google yourself, okay? And I want you to look for a couple of things. Type in your name, not your business, and I want you to look at how many images are out there. So you can click on the images. How many videos are out there? And how many articles? And when I say articles, links that are related to you. And you can type them in the chat box. Let me know. If you've done this before, what then I would love for you to do, if you haven't done this, it's quite interesting. I want you to ChatGPT yourself. I want you to go in and see what information comes up about you from ChatGPT. I just signed a client last month from the US through a platform that I had never heard of called Copilot. And he'd researched me through finding the best personal brand strategist through that AI platform. So I'm just going to give you a minute to either ChatGPT yourself or Google yourself or do both and let me know what comes up about you. If anyone's got 10 images, type it in. If anyone's got videos, let me know. 3 videos, 5 videos, let me know. Has anyone got any articles? Has anyone seen anything that they're not sure? Let me know. So when you've got an answer, pop it into the chat box. Let's see what's out there. If there's nothing, that's okay. We can just be intentional about creating some more. So Charlie said, yes, we've got lots of articles. Okay. Oh, good. It's all coming in. 8 images of me on the front page. I just found out about an article I didn't know about winning an award. I love it. Plus 50 videos. Excellent. At least 30 images. Um, Ashley, that's tough. with an American celebrity with the same name. 13 videos. What else we got? Yes, lots on my personal brand on ChatGPT. Awesome. Radio recordings, lots on social media. It's nice to see myself written about from someone else, 100%. But one of the things that I think you will find that comes up when you do this, which is why that your personal brand is how you make others feel digitally as well, is I bet for the majority of you, when you Googled yourself, LinkedIn was the first thing that came up. So if you don't have a personal branded website, then often LinkedIn, because it's SEO, will be the first place that people look. So it's a great opportunity for you to look at using that platform to build your personal brand and your story. Brilliant. We've got lots of articles, podcasts, and lots of images, 12, 50, 20. No videos or news. Don't worry, you can create some. And ChatGPT told me about me. Well done. So this is a great place to start. Do we need to update things? Do we need to create more? What are maybe some of the things? So for me, when I did this, because I do this regularly, when I did this last year for myself, I had a ton of press in the Middle East, but I had a tiny amount globally. So I made my goal for 2025, how can I get international press? So maybe that's something else that you might want to hone in a little bit. Maybe you want to look at building up your client database somewhere else. Maybe there's something there that you need to work on too. So well done for everyone participating in that as well. For me, personal brand values are really the North Star to you sharing your story, to becoming memorable when you are communicating your elevator pitch later. They guide your interactions, your decisions, and I would say the relatability and how people connect with you as well. So if I was to show a picture, I love it that the ChatGPT knew everything about you right down to your date of birth. Awesome. When we look at people that have big businesses or businesses that are recognizable, you will know by looking at these faces that they have value. So let's just pick, for example, let's pick Oprah. What values would you say that Oprah has? Type it into the chat box. Let's see if we can get maybe some of the same ones. And then we could do um, Richard Branson. So first of all, let's start with Oprah. So what do we have in terms of some of the people? Honesty, integrity, compassion, female empowerment through social justice. That one's come up a couple of times. Warmth, female empowerment. You see how you don't necessarily know Oprah, but through the content she shares, potentially how she engages with people, that you're starting to see the same things. You will also have brand values that are consistently coming up. If we were to take Richard Branson, now he's got multiple businesses, what would you say his brand values are? Or a couple of them? I did this presentation, not this exact presentation, but I did a personal branding presentation on in a school recently, and no one knew who Richard Branson was actually, which I was quite disappointed with, and quite surprised about. So it made me think, okay, maybe I need to get someone else that's more um, under the age of 25 potentially. Okay, so we've got innovation. Absolutely. That's Richard Branson, but it's also if you think his brands are innovative. Adventure. For me, adventure and risk-taking are the brands that I think of. I think of the ballooning adventures he's done. I think of the risk-taking he's done when he first launched Virgin Airlines. So so these are the things when you think about your brand values, what are your brand values? And how do they impact what it is that you do, the stories that you tell? So, what I would love for you to do now, I've got some examples here of some personal brand values. I just want you to have sort of 30 seconds to think about what are my brand values? Write them down if you're in a safe place to do so. What are your brand values and how are they guiding your content that you're sharing? How are they guiding your biography? How are they guiding the way you speak and you communicate and the stories that you tell? These are just some of them or an idea. When I work one-on-one with a client, I actually have a 72 cards and we go through the whole process where people have to go, okay, narrow it down, aligned, somewhat aligned, not aligned, till they get 3 to 5 that they really feel connected with. I think I've got one more. So maybe list 10 if it's easier, and then circle your top 5. If anyone wants to share any with me, I are. And I'm going to give you a challenge after this. Ooh, nice. So we've got integrity, transparency, approachable. Love it. Responsible tourism, people first, clarity and honesty, mental health focus. You can actually then start to see maybe what industry people are in through their personal brand values. That's interesting that ChatGPT came up with your values based on what you've already posted out there. That's really good. Women empowerment, kindness, loyalty, courage, great stuff. Kindness, honesty. This is great work, ladies. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, for those that maybe haven't done this exercise, how does this relate to your biography? What I wanted to do next was here's my bio. And what I would like for you to do is guess my personal brand values. There's kind of 5 that are really clear in this. And I wanted to give this example where you can go, okay, do you know what? Maybe I need to look at my LinkedIn bio and see if my personal brand values come through in this. Does my story resonate with those that are reading it and can see that I have community passion or transparency or that there's quality? So where and how we do it, it's our guiding North Star with our how we show up, the decisions we make, and what people think of us, how they want to engage with us. Okay, so what have we got here? I'm not sure actually if people are still writing their own ones or they're guessing mine. So if anyone's ready to guess mine, just put Kelly and my values. And I've actually already shared one with you. Let's see if you can get that one first. Love it, Emily. Inspiration, absolutely. Inspire to action. Inspire, absolutely. What else do we have? Thanks for clarifying that. I've seen them come in. Authenticity, thank you for those that are finding that as well. Awesome. Now, there was one that came up there, which people don't usually get. And I just wanted to see who wrote that. It was a few up. Let me go in and come back there. I presented this a few times actually, and it's amazing people don't get the one that's in the last paragraph. So I'm super impressed that someone picked up on it. And for me, that's health. Health is a huge value of mine because I believe that I can't be still up at 9 o'clock at night giving the value that I need to, that if I don't prioritize filling my cup and feeling good. And I also feel that through health, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see me at 5 a.m. going to the gym in gym clothes and no makeup. And you'll see the other side to the Kelly on the stage versus the Kelly in the gym. So for me, that's a huge piece that brings in the authenticity. So I want you to think about your values. How do they come across in your biography? How do you tell the stories? A little anecdote that people can get to know you a little bit more without you actually telling them. And it's so interesting the amount of people that have maybe gone, oh, you're part of the 5 a.m. club. So am I. So you instantly then have a rapport with someone. So is there something in there that you can communicate a story and what it is that you do? So when it comes to speaking and storytelling, huge amount of places here that you would tell stories and speak on you, your personal brand, less about the business and more about your stories, client in interactions, interviews, team. It could be in a number of these ways that you communicate with. Why tell stories? I've got a little video just after this, but ultimately, stories help you build trust, leave amazing first impressions, inspire and influence. So I think if those that are on here today, I would imagine that many of the things that you're doing is because you want to inspire other people to buy a product or service or to help them through something that they're stuck with. And storytelling helps you. In the era that we're in now, I don't know about you, but I can spot ChatGPT LinkedIn post like that. And ultimately, it's going to be the stories that you bring in that's going to make, don't get me wrong, help you use AI to help you, but it's you that's going to add the authenticity with your personal brand when it comes to storytelling. And ultimately, stories are the piece that humanize your brand by showcasing the person behind it. And there's a number of ways that you can do it, whether you're someone who's quite outgoing or you're someone who's reserved. There's just different communication styles for your personal brand. It doesn't mean one has a brand and one doesn't. There's a little video that I wanted to share with you. So Gian actually came on my podcast. He has an international training company and talks a lot about storytelling. And I thought this explanation of storytelling just put a different perspective into it. In the personal branding space, it's not used enough. Even with your team of 80 trainers, it's just not used, and people really don't understand it. So how can you simplify it maybe a little bit for people to go, okay, how is it relevant to them and what it is they do?
So firstly, it is not new. It's been around for over 30,000 years, storytelling. And so it goes way back to cavemen and women when they first sat around a fire. The world's changed so much, but one thing hasn't changed much at all, and that's our brains. So our brains are still wired to absorb information in a story format. Mm. When you explore and do interjects, I'll go off on passion here with you about storytelling. How do they make a difference? Well, some research from Stanford looked at this, like how much more memorable is the stuff that you share, whether that's your personal brand, your information about your product or service, when you tell a story. And they found that it was up to 22 times more memorable. So not just twice.
22 times more memorable. So when you go and do the networking piece, I want you to tell a story so that you can become 22 times more memorable. If you're up for that, give me a thumbs up there. What is a story? It's something that happens to a person, not a company. And the goal is for it to either entertain, inform, or inspire others. And I've told a couple of stories in a way that rather than just saying, hey, I'm Kelly from Scotland, I brought in a little bit of narrative as to where and how with my Haya story, or why personal branding and the aha moment. It wasn't just, hey, I decided one day to start a personal branding agency. No, I explained the aha moment as to why I'm here. You will also have an aha moment that could help maybe in your elevator pitch as well. How to use storytelling so you can use it in a number of different ways. Challenges, career, vision and goals, I think is a big one. I really wanted to do a TEDx talk, like for many years wanting to do a TEDx talk. And I actually told people that it was one of my goals that I wanted to do. And through by communicating the story that I wanted to do a TEDx talk, someone said, do you know what? My wife's actually hosting a TEDx talk in the school and she's looking for speakers. So storytelling can help you achieve some of your goals as well. It can also become some of the stories. But the goal is you got to lead with value. It's not about you, it's about them. Sure, your brand is about you, but you want the content to speak to them. When I've told a story, I've immediately gone, how does this relate to you? The personal brand values. Here's mine. Think about your biography. Where and how can this go into your social media content as well? This is where you want to showcase you as a thought leader and ultimately give back, lead with value, lessons. That's when your personal brand is not about you, it's about others. So I wanted to just kind of finish up here and how can you use it in social media and give you a couple of examples as well. So LinkedIn touched on LinkedIn just a little bit earlier with the fact that probably when you audited yourself very quickly, LinkedIn was the first thing that came up. And that is because it's SEO optimized. But here's the thing with LinkedIn. I just want to share a really quick stat with you. There's a billion users on LinkedIn, and there's only 2% that are active, which means there is huge scope for you to grow and stand out on that platform with your personal brand. And ultimately, for you to be more than that 2%, you only need to be posting more than once a week consistently. So, what are some of the content that you need to be communicating? Think about your values and tell stories and bring them together. So, this was a recent story that went, I would say, viral for me to get, what was that, 86,000 impressions. The idea being communicating a story and you want engagement. So, this story was about how the fact that I had celebrated 22 years in Dubai, there were so many things that I loved in the beginning, but there's also so many things that I love about the new city. And it really engaged so many people because that's the piece that people miss when they tell a story is how do you bring the engagement in? And so actually this is actually a really nice little piece to bring it all back together. This storytelling piece then became part of an article. So I don't know if anyone reads the Daily Mail. Guilty confession that I do have to say I have a little look at it, and they quite often bash Dubai, and it's quite frustrating as someone who lives here and it's been my home for nearly 23 years. And I used this content about what I like about Dubai, what I don't like about Dubai as a counter article. And the Daily Mail actually picked up on it. And they did a whole article about what are the benefits. Can you believe it's something positive about the city? But do you know what happened from that? That article then got picked up here in Dubai. I then got a massive spread in a publication here. Then that led to another publication in back in the Daily Mail about something else. And all of that added to visibility. So from telling one story, it can open up so many other opportunities as well. This is one of my clients who we worked on our LinkedIn profile as her personal brand, and she grew in 12 months 534%. And she loves data, so she worked out that she'd grown her business by 40% through the growth in her LinkedIn, through telling stories about other people, which was her strategy. I'm going to wrap up with one last story, and I think it's a really lovely example. And I'm going to ask you some questions about this at the end. But Barbara was one of my clients, and while we were working together, she actually lost her job. And she said to me, Kelly, I really want to stay here in the Middle East. I need to find another job, and it's not working for me. How can you help me? And we created an intentional strategy for her personal brand. And this is what we led with.
Over 3 months ago, I lost a job. Since then, I received a lot of emails like that. So now I decided a little bit different approach. I created this website, hirebarbara.com. Without even downloading my CV, you can see my main achievements and what I'm all about. So if you're looking for a creative employee like me, get in touch.
Okay, so find the chat box again, and I would love for you to tell me how many views you think this got off LinkedIn. A rough guess. I love it. Your daughter wants to move to Dubai. Brilliant. Okay, active 3,000, 50,000, 5,000, a million, 5,800. Very specific. I love it. 20,000. A million, Denise says. Annette says, Emily says 25,000. No one's actually got the right answer. 55,000. No, so she actually got 4.6 million views. The video went viral. Like it was next level. Every single day. So on this campaign that we did, every single day she messaged me. And on like day 5, she sent me a voice note. And she's like, Kelly, I think we broke LinkedIn. So what was the result out of that? She got momentum. What was momentum? 60 job opportunities. 60. So conversations with people, learning about different brands, not now, but potentially in 6 months, it built momentum. To be fair, she actually got two marriage proposals as well, which of course she declined. But she ended up getting a job out of that. And that's the beauty of being able to tell a story in less than 30 seconds. And there's a framework and there's so much more I can go into, but I'm super conscious that I've just touched over my 30 minutes. So what I would really like to just say to you that I want you to be memorable. If anyone would like to know more, there's an opportunity to book a call with my team. I'll leave that QR code there for you now. And I might not be able to guarantee marriage proposals, but certainly business growth and more visibility when it comes to your personal brand and just how you can use that to grow. So this was really just a snapshot. I take this into 2 hours and really get you to go deep in how you can use your personal brand. I honestly can say that I live the life that I truly want because of my personal brand, and my family do, and my husband does through the personal brand piece. And I can't wait to support you on that journey too. So thank you, Angela, for the opportunity to just give some snippets. Maybe while everyone's kind of tuning back in, if you've got the chance, one thing you're going to action. One thing you're going to action, just tell me off maybe if there's that's going to spark something, pop it in the chat box and let me know. Angela, it's over to you.